Hello again, Struck. For today I'm bringing you my What the Struck is Black Skylands video, which is what I've decided to start calling my first impression videos. So what the Struck really is Black Skylands? It's a fresh 2D pixel art action RPG that combines two types of combat, ground and aerial, with a top-down camera that gives it that kind of a retro feel that some of you might remember from the good old days of the SEGA consoles and the Strike series, such as Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, Urban Strike, etc. It follows the story of a female protagonist as she fights sky pirates and zerg-like monstrosities to take back control of the Skylands for the good of their inhabitants and to free them from a tyrannical rule. The combat is fast-paced, the wood system is simple but deep enough, and there's crafting, upgrades and wool and lots of other good stuff to keep us busy. So hopefully you enjoy this video where I would mention some of the good stuff, some of the bad stuff and things I would like to see fixed and improved and added. I want to mention a bit about the story without spoiling too much, but basically the story is very simple. But that's not a bad thing. At least for me it's not a bad thing. The story is simple, straightforward. It starts off as a prologue where we are a teenager. There's like some coming of age ceremony or whatever. Things happen without revealing too much. Things happen, a lot of drama happens, and then there's a time skip to 7 years in the future. And some of the people involved in the drama are now bad guys. So we have people that used to be good guys now being the bad guys. There's feuds and stuff, and those bad guys are now kind of like the pirates, the bad people controlling the sky and being like the tyrants. I don't want to review too much and spoil the story for you if you're the type of people that care about the story in a game like this. But it's not so bad. It's not amazing, but it's not bad either. So there is some sort of story to follow. But if you feel like taking a break from the story and just grinding a little bit, collecting some islands that the game is not telling you to collect right now, for example, see, my quest is to get here, but I'm probably gonna roam around to get this island for my faction, then get some of those things here for my faction, because my rating allows me to, so why not do those to get stronger, to get some farming done before moving on to the main story. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the story. It's not something special, but it should keep you busy for a while. And when we talk about the combat, you would notice that there's obviously two types of combat, which is one of the great things about this game. Having land combat and then aerial combat. Fighting with your ship, fighting on the ground with your guns. It's like two games merging into one, and I like this about the game a lot. However, there are some things about the combat that could be improved. In particular, the boss fights. So far I've done two big bosses, and both of those I had to cheese because they felt a little bit too difficult to me. And the game doesn't allow you a difficulty scaling setting where you can pick between easy, normal, hard, where the bosses have, for example, half of the HP they currently have, and I had to cheese the game by hiding behind obstacles and waiting for the enemy's attacks behind those obstacles before showing myself and attacking. And I'm assuming that's probably not the way they designed the game, the way they wanted the game to be played. But I'm also not that great at dodging and at bullet hell combat. And bosses pretty much are that. They are bullet hell combat bosses. And sometimes you just don't get. On the first boss, I had the thingy, the restock station. I'm not sure what the name is. The thing that lets you refill your medkits and ammo right before the boss fight, and that was fine. But for the second boss, there wasn't a station to refill my ammo right before the boss, and since I reached the boss at 0 medkits, I kind of had to go back to the town, refuel, and then go back to the boss. And the boss was so difficult that I didn't see myself beating the boss ever unless I cheesed it. So I had to hide in a building, show myself from there, shoot, hide myself in the building while the boss is doing its bullet health attacks. And the attacks do a lot of damage. Half of my HP with a single hit of those bullets that the boss did went down. And having only one medkit at the time was very difficult, because that means 4 hits and that's it with that one medkit. So definitely not the best thing ever. In fact, it's not 4 hits, because I get hit once and then I have to heal, because if I get hit a second time, I'm dead. So I get hit once, I heal, I get hit twice, I heal, and then I get hit third time, actually, because I won't be able to heal after the second one, and I die. And that's not fun. That's not fun at the very beginning of the game to have bosses that are so ridiculously strong compared to the player. And I'm not saying it's impossible to beat them, but you have to be super good at bullet health, at dodging projectiles at the right time. And it becomes a bit too much for someone who just wants to enjoy the game without having to be the best one at reflexes and dodging. So I hope they implement an option to change the difficulty if something is a bit too difficult during a boss fight. And also, loading after you die, it doesn't load you straight from the boss fight, it loads you a little bit earlier than the boss fight. In fact, on the second boss fight, which was at some sort of island station with some wood and stuff, without revealing too much, when it loaded me back after dying, sometimes I go back to like 2 minutes before the boss, or a minute and a half before the boss, where I'm flying on my way from my base to the boss. So it needs to save right before the boss fight starts. And if you die, you should be able to just load from that one specific moment. And the problem is there are some dialogues, and yes, you can skip the dialogues, but you still have to press escape a few times. And every time I died, I had to go through that boring dialogue again. So it doesn't save right before the dialogue. You don't have an option to save yourself when you want to make your own save game when you want it. You have to rely on certain randomly placed save times, and most of the times this save won't be at the best point. So I think that's some of the things that might piss people off about combat and the game in general. So hopefully this is not something that would piss you off. Apart from that, I haven't seen bugs. Now let's talk about the equipment system. In the equipment system, as you might have noticed on the side, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 types of bullets, which would mean 7 types of different weapons. You have pistol, then assault rifle, then you have a rifle and a sniper and a shotgun and an SMG, and this one which I have no idea what it is because I haven't encountered it. You have slots for 1 pistol, which is always a pistol, and for 2 other weapons, which could be assault rifle, shotgun rifle, sniper rifle, SMG, etc. So 2 main weapons, 1 pistol. Then you have torso, boots, and this is kind of like a belt bag, and you can just equip 1 for each of those. The difference between the armor and the weapons is armors give you some sort of additional bonuses, from what I've seen. I haven't seen weapons yet that give you additional bonuses, but weapons have mod slots. So every weapon has 4 mod slots. For sight, for a barrel, for they call it butt, but it's like the handle or whatever, not the handle, but I forgot the name of this thing. That's at the back, and then you have different magazines, so you can change the magazine, the barrel, the sights, and the I keep forgetting the name of this thing, brain freeze. But in any case, there's 4 components. Each rifle has those 4 components. If you look at this, it's still the same here, those 4 components. So the sniper rifle, again, those same 4 components. And putting mods increases the power of a weapon. And this is this score here, the yellow score. And this yellow score adds up to your total player yellow score. And that yellow score you have to pay attention to, because there are ground enemies, and for ground enemies you would need higher, for ground enemies with higher score of this you would need higher player score, equipment power. But then there's ship score, and more about ships in a moment. And when you go to a certain map, more about maps in a moment as well, you would see that different maps have different recommended player score, so you can deal with the enemies. So that pretty much should sum up the equipment types, but let's quickly show you where you can get more equipment from. First of all, you can craft equipment. Equipment is craftable. Not all of it, as far as I know, but there are certain things you can craft, and this is done through this building, through the armory, which you can also upgrade. My armory is level 1, and right now I got myself a shotgun, I got myself a sniper rifle, I can also get a rifle and an SMG. But they're the most basic ones, and I can get a few mods. I already crafted a few, but you can get some more of those. And I also bought myself the torso and the belt back, but I can also get myself boots. But those are the most basic ones, and I'm assuming if I upgrade it, I could get more. On top of that, you can upgrade your flashlight. You can get some extra backstabs. You can upgrade your Wuma energy, which is like your lives, and you can upgrade your hook's damage. I haven't gotten this, I've gotten the other ones, and they are definitely worth it. And once you build the building, if you have enough materials, you can upgrade it through here. And more about buildings later on. Now let's talk about the skyships. The skyship system is very interesting. First, you can change the base of the ship. Second, you have 7 different components to change, which is sails, cannon, hull, hold, fuel tank, propeller, and an engine. And basically you can choose between one and the other, and you can see how one is stronger than the other. Like, let me quickly just show you. The way you access this ship system is you have to go to your ship, and then once you take the helm, you have to hold E, and that way you enter the shipyard. And this is where you can change the ship. First of all, see, that's one ship, that's the ship you start with, and that's the ship you buy from a quest. You can see there's total ship power, and this total ship power is an indicator of how strong your ship is, so you can have an idea whether you can handle the enemies, the ships around a certain island. You can see there's a bunch of different things to consider: durability, cargo slots, top forward speed, acceleration, reverse speed, deceleration, rotation speed, acceleration, rotation, fuel consumption, boost duration, boosted speed. See, I don't have boost right now, but there is a boost apparently. Boost acceleration, and component weights. So obviously smaller ships would be faster, with more maneuverability, whereas bigger ships would be more sluggish, but also more durable. Obviously this one, the Behemoth, is kind of the starting ship, so it's gonna be the worst of them all. But eventually you would have options to do all sorts of things. And again, this is the different components. You can see they actually change visually. Once you change something, it visually changes on your ship. I don't have much components, I only have 2 engines, the rest I have just the default ones, but you can kind of get the idea. Now, where do you get components, one might ask? Well, have no fear, you can craft them. You can craft them, but you would need to grind materials to craft them. So if you go to this one, to the ship ship factory or whatever the name was. You can actually upgrade it just like almost any other building. Some buildings cannot be upgraded. After you build them, that's it. But see, here you can buy ship components with materials. So for example, I can get a fuel tank now, or a big fuel tank instead of the standard, which is the better option obviously. Then there's trusty sails, sturdy hold, standard engine, copper propeller and advanced propeller and all sorts of things. Then there's ships. I already bought the ship that was available here. There's cannons, and you can upgrade the ship's cannon sight. This is done through population, through citizens, and you get citizens by holding control of islands. So in general, let's just buy something. Let's buy this propeller. Do we need propeller more or fuel tank? I would say we need the propeller more. Let's get this propeller and let's go and equip it. But yeah, pretty much very simple system. You're just gonna need to do some farming, some grinding to get enough materials so you can keep upgrading, and you really need to pay attention to the suggested power of a certain map. So see, this is something that you might want to know. I cannot install this because it will overweight my ship. So my ship cannot install this advanced propeller because it's just adding too much weight. And that's something that now you know, and I know as well. Now let's talk about the buildings. So what you would see is, in your base after the prologue, you would see a bunch of plots, and all those plots would have a bunch of scrap. And once you clear out the scrap fully, so it looks like this, no scrap on it, you can talk to this, and that would allow you to access a screen that lets you build. At first you would have 5 buildings unlocked: garden, armory factory, ship workshop and a bar. But eventually, as you progress through the story, which makes you build some of the buildings and do some things, you would unlock Trader Square, a ranch and a laboratory. I might be wrong, but I noticed there's 11 slots, 11 building slots. And that's 8 buildings, so maybe there's more buildings, or maybe the game expects you to have multiple gardens and multiple ranches on those extra slots, because I don't think the game would want you to have two bars or 2 ship workshops and stuff like that. But some of the buildings that have time gating, like the garden, it would make sense to have multiple of those. Even things like this place, like the factory, there's some time gated stuff. See, this one takes 8 seconds to craft. I would have shown you if I had this asteroid call. This one sometimes is 3-4 minutes, sometimes it's like 10 minutes. 10 minutes to grow a crop, or maybe every time it's 10 minutes. I might not have noticed that, but 10 minutes to grow a crop. Obviously, if you have 2 of them and grow 2 or 3 crops at the same time, you're gonna triple or double your production. I'm not a fan of this time gating. I think 10 minutes it's a little bit too much, and making it down to 3 or 5 minutes would be better. So hopefully some of the devs listen to some of that feedback. Time gates only make sense in MMORPGs. In single player games it's very, very bad design to force me into a long time gate. I like the time gate of this, how it's only a few seconds. So if you make the farm the same way as the factory, everyone will be happy. Single player games don't deserve such shitty time gates. So please listen and change this. It makes sense in MMORPGs, where you don't want players to be progressing quicker than others, but even in MMORPGs I don't like them, and I hope other people think the same way, that time gates have no room in a single player game like this one. Now let's talk about the map, the world. Everyone starts at this place, at the father ship. This is our base. And this is a refueling station, but you have one in the father ship as well. In this refueling station, you can just take a bit of fuel and keep it with you. You can refuel your fuel canisters and then store them in your hold of the ship, so you can have fuel at hand in case you run out. Then there's all sorts of different islands. This is the first one, the first 2 places where the game might take you to. But eventually you would see there's more and more and more islands, each of them having its own suggested player power and ship power rating. So before you attempt to do an island, make sure your equipment or ship are up to the task, which you can see over here. Here that's a representation of your player equipment power and the ship equipment power. So obviously I cannot tackle this or this one right now because it's gonna be too much, but this and a bunch of the other ones are within my range. This one might be hard for my ship but not for my player. This one again hard for my player and for my ship. So again, pay attention to this, and there's a bunch of islands and every now and then you would see enemies attacking an island, which means you would have to go back to this island and defend it by destroying every single enemy. So the world is living in a way, living, breathing world. Not as much as in some other games, but at least there's still those events where you take something over and eventually you have to defend it. It's not yours forever unless you keep defending it. So this gives you kind of the small impression that there's a living world. There are options to fast travel. So if you are in a different zone, you can always fast travel to the father ship. I haven't been able to fast travel to other places, but since this seems like a new town, Turtle Town, maybe we would be able to fast travel there once we unlock it. But again, I haven't spent much time playing the game yet, so there are a lot of things to uncover. The most important thing to pay attention to is on the map it will tell you where you can get certain resources and certain types of wood, mod boxes for example, which give you mods for your weapons, which again improves those weapons and gives you some sort of build diversity. So yeah, keep that in mind. When you need a certain resource, the map is your best friend to tell you where which resources can be obtained. Let's talk about the settings. In terms of settings from game, you just have the language controls, standard stuff, keyboard and mouse or controller. You have all sorts of different controls. I'm not gonna talk about them, but there's a lot of things you can change yourself. Then for volumes, there's master music, ambient, SFX. I've switched off the music just in case it's copyrighted. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But I like the music. It wasn't annoying, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't annoying either. So it was decent music, definitely nice. And then there's for the resolution, there's a bunch of settings one can experiment with. But not much. There's animated quads, VSync and camera offset force. It would be nice if the game explains what camera offset force means. There aren't any other options, but I guess since the game is not that demanding, you always run it at maximum, even on weak machines, and that's nice. That's a good thing about games like this that are not that demanding on your machine. Even weaker machines, even some old laptops and stuff can run it. So not much to talk about the menu options, but it has the essentials. What I would love to see is an option that restricts the mouse cursor to the window border. I had a lot of times throughout my stream last night when I was testing the game for the first time, the problem where I would be flying or fighting and I'm aiming around and suddenly my cursor ends up outside of the window and I don't realize it because I play windowed and after the window ends there's my stream chat and stuff, and I would click outside of it and this throws me out of the game. Thankfully it starts a pause screen, but it breaks the fluidity. So in games with aiming and shooting, you really always, it's a must-have in my opinion to have an option to restrict the game cursor to the window borders that people can toggle on and off. Now there are some minor details that people might want to know. For example, you have your base storage and you have your ship storage. And in your ship storage you need to keep ship ammo and repair kits if you want to shoot with your ship or repair your ship when it gets broken. You also would want to hold a canister and this canister you can refuel, and this canister is where you hold extra fuel, not the fuel that's on the ship, but the fuel that you would want as an extra in case your ship runs out of fuel and you want to replenish that fuel. You would have to take that canister and then refill it through here and then put it back to the ship hold. That's how it works. Yeah, some people might require some time to get used to it. Then there's another thing you need to know. When you get a wood box, a box of mods, you have to grab that box, hold it and carry it to this place, to the install mod box, and then it will open the box and then you can wood it. So those are some minor things that might not be clear to the player at first, but eventually you learn those things. And now I'd like to sum up some pros and some cons of the game. For example, I would start with the good stuff, which I would mention the 2D, the beautiful 2D pixel art is amazing. Then there's the fast-paced land and aerial combat, which really stands out for this game. Then there's 7 weapon types plus a mod system, a modding system, which I think adds enough variety in terms of weapons and picking your playstyle of pistol and 2 weapons, although the pistol is one of those weapons. Then there are 7 ship component types and various ship bases, and you can just mix and match those components to create your ideal ship combination. You have to sacrifice some things to get other things and so on. And then there's this defend your island system that makes it kind of feel like living, breathing world in a way where you don't statically own an island permanently and you have to defend it every now and then. There's more than those, but those are the ones that stand out to me, and keep in mind what is a pro to me could be a con to others and vice versa. So now let's move on to what I personally don't like about the game. The first 2 bosses felt very overpowered and I had to cheese them by using the environment, which it felt wrong. But that was my way of overcoming those bosses. Then the random save times are not amazing and you can't manually save when you want to, and that could piss off some people. Then the lack of restrain the mouse cursor to the game window toggle option can be annoying to some who play on windowed mode or who play with multiple monitors. So it's always nice in games where you have aiming and you're constantly moving your mouse around to have such an option to avoid clicking outside of the window. So far there's also very small enemy diversity. Hopefully as I progress through the game I would see tougher enemies, but for now I've seen just a few types of pirates and barely any swarm enemies, except like a boss or some flying ones every now and then that I can't even fight. So hopefully this improves as I play on. Keep in mind this is my first impressions, I haven't finished the game yet, so maybe some of those things like the last one I mentioned would change. To get notified when I upload more content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters and all sorts of wooters like that, you could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content updates. And optionally you can even join as a member of the Struck Club on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Struck Club. Until next time, and goodbye.